हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। अभ्रमं भंगरहितम् अजडं विमलं सदा आनन्दतीर्थमतलं भजेतापत्रयापहं मिथ्या सिद्धान्तदुद्ध्वान्त विध्वंसन विचक्षणः जयतीर्थागतनिर्भासतां नो हृदम्बरे अर्तिकृत्यकल्पोऽयं प्रत्युत्थिगजकेसरी व्यासतीर्थगुरुभूयाद् अस्मदिष्टात् सिद्धये तपो विद्याविरक्त्यादि सद्भोगाकरानं वादिराजगुरुमुनेः कृपदाश्रयान् पूज्य राघवेन्द्राय सिद्धर्मर्दाय च भजतां कल्पवृक्षाय नवतां कामधेनवे दुर्वादिध्वान्तरवे वैष्णवेन्दीवरेन्दवे श्रीराघवेन्द्र नमोऽतिन्दयाळवे आपादमणिपर्यन्तं गुरूणामाप्तिं स्मरेत् तेन विघ्नाः प्रणश्यन्ति सिद्ध्यन्ति मनोरथाः। हरिः ओं श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। We are doing Bhagavad Gita, third chapter. We are talking, this third chapter is called Karma Yoga. So we are talking about the way of the karma, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, how the karma functions, and in that we actually went through the karma process, how the karma is bandhaka. You know, people say, okay, I won't do any karma and all, that's not going to work out. And so the 8th sloka, it says, नियतं कुरु कर्मत्वं कर्मज्यायो ह्यकर्मणः शरीर यात्रापि च ते न प्रसिद्धेत अकर्मणः अकर्मणः शरीर यात्रा अपि न प्रसिद्धेत प्रसिद्धेत it doesn't, we cannot accomplish by not doing any action. Even the life journey cannot be taken up. So even for making our life go through, like, you know, to live, to survive, we have to do a lot of karmas. Not only to survive, we want to make ourselves happy, comfortable. So the karma is unavoidable. Karma has to be done. So you might as well do niyatam kuru karma tvam. So you do karma, whatever is prescribed karma. Doing karma is unavoidable. You might as well do the prescribed karma. Why? Means instead of karma, doing the good karma is most desirable. So I get rid of the karma bandhana by not doing action. It's not possible. The better way is do karma, and while doing the prescribed karma, find out or realize using the scriptures how the karma bandhana can be removed. That next sloka tells the how it is to be done. So it says, यज्ञार्थम अकर्मणोन्यत्र लोकोयम कर्मबंधनः यज्ञार्थात् कर्मणोन्यत्र लोकोयम कर्मबंधनः. यज्ञ अर्थात्, artha means for the sake of. Yajna, what is yajna means, we'll see that in this context. Yajnarthat karmanah anyatra lokah ayam karmabandhanah tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. So it gives a clue as to when karma. So karma bandhana, there is a saying this, karmana badhyate jantuhu. All the living beings are bound by the karma in two ways. One is it's unavoidable to do the karma. The second way the karma bandhana is, karma leads to another karma, another life, another life. So it is a eternal journey. It's a cycle, goes on and on and on because of the karmas. So the karma binds our mind, and we are forced to do karma. One way of binding. The second way of binding is it leads to further karma and further life or further janma. So this karma bandhana is unavoidable. But what should we do? So it says yajnartha. Here yajna, yajana. So yajna means we all know that worshipping the god through the fire. But that are, instead of that meaning, the better meaning for this, we do for the sake of yajna, we do karma. We are not doing for the sake of the fire worship, we are not doing the karma. So yajna here means Paramatma himself. Because of Paramatma, for the sake of Paramatma, if we do karma for pleasing Paramatma with a feeling of non-independent, that means I don't own this karma. Paramatma is the owner of this karma. He is making me do it. This realization and this dedication spirit to Paramatma is what makes us or takes us away from the karma bandhana. Otherwise, so if we don't do this, yajnarthat karmanaha So karmana anyatra, that means if we don't do it for the sake of pleasing Paramatma, if we do for the sake of pleasing ourselves, then it becomes karma bandhana. But if we perform the action thinking that Paramatma is making us do it and offer that to Paramatma, then it will not become karma bandhana. So when it becomes karma bandhana, when it does not become karma bandhana, this gives a clue. And then it says tadartham, for that reason, He Kaunteya Arjuna, do karma mukta sangaha samachara. So with a detachment spirit, the detachment spirit means we call it detached attachment. That means we have to perform actions. Complete detachment is not possible, but the detached attachment means while we are doing the karma, we think that Paramatma is making us do it. We do not have the free will, but we do this with a dedication spirit. I offer this to Paramatma. Let this be. So that means when we have that intention of offering to Paramatma, naturally we will be tempted or we will be guided by thinking that we should do the good karma only, because we want to offer that as a worship to Paramatma. So doing the bad karma and offering as a worship doesn't make sense. So do a good karma, whatever we think is good. Good means how do we decide what is good, what is bad? Whatever is good for the majority of the good people in this world, that is good karma. Whatever our conscience tells, this is the good, guided by our conscience, that is the good karma. If sometimes people kill the conscience. They say, oh, I don't want to listen to my conscience. They do the bad karma because, hey, this is good for me, I get benefited, let me do this. So this is what is making us do bad karma. So that awareness of the conscience is what is helpful for us in determining what is good karma and what is not good karma. Of course, we had a lot of questions where sometimes it becomes difficult. Something may appear to be good, may not be good. Something may appear to be bad, but it may be good. How do we determine in case of critical things, like some confusing things? The way it is to be done is, if we are not sure of something, seek guidance. Get hold of a guru who will tell in particular action, this particular action, is it good or bad? So now, based on the scriptures and based on the experience, Anubhava and Shastra, gurus will guide you and tell you this is a right thing, this is not the right thing to do. So that is how we determine what is good and what. This is all actually a kind of a preface for the karma cycle that probably we are going to talk about the cycle of karma in the next class. But this is all actually a kind of preface for the karma cycle, the cyclic process. And there, in the next sloka, the 10th sloka, it says, Sahayajnaha pradasruštva purovacha prajapati anena prasavishyadvam yesha o vaha means to you, astu ishta kamadhuk. That means, here Prajapati is Chaturmukha Brahma. After the creation, what he did was, whoever, the people, Yajna Adhikara, that means actually Yajna means the one famous Yajna is one kind of Yajna, which we all know. We saw that Yajna Yaga, what we see the one. But not only that, there is what's called Panchamaha Yajna. We talked about that maybe probably once or twice. Panchamaha Yajnas are like, Manusya Yajna, Deva Yajna, Pitru Yajna, Brahma Yajna, Bhuta Yajna. So these are all called like different types of yajna. What is to be done? Like for example, when you talk about Deva Yajna means doing the worship or whatever. So Brahma Yajna means doing the through mantras we perform the homa like that. So different types of yajnas can. So it's not only just even doing Atiti Satkara is a good thing. And there's so many living beings are there. You feed the birds and everything. You give the helpless animals, you feed them. It's called Bhuta Yajna, Pranis. So these are also a kind of good yajna. That means this itself gives us the clue that the Shastras always talk about not only our selfishness acts, but It talks about the world, loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, we talk about. That is what is the guiding force. So all these are different types of yajnas are there. And when after creating Chaturmukha Brahma, he's told to the people whom he created, like Devatas, and then Uttama Manushas, through Devatas, through Shastras, whatever Brahma gave the instruction that perform the yajnas, whatever yajnas you are eligible to perform those yajnas, and you will get your desires fulfilled. At the same time, you please, through the yajnas, you please the devatas or the uttama devatas. They will in turn do good things to you. So you basically, what is happening is Chaturmukha Brahma, he created this, the creation of when he performed the creation, created the people, and he created the objects that are needed to perform the yajna also. So he created the people and all kinds of living beings, not just the humans, but all kinds of living beings, and also all kinds of objects which are needed for performing the yajnas. So he has created this and then said, mutually you benefit each other. You perform these yajnas and you please the devatas. They will again, through the rains and everything, they will help you and you please each other. And that next sloka actually continues with that thought. It says, Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantu vaha. Vaha means you. Parasparam bhavayantaha shreyah param avapsyase. So through these yajnas, you please the devatas, and the devatas will get pleased, and they will make the nature, the rains, and whatever, the earth and everything. Earth gives rise to the seeds, the plant. You plant the things, and then you get the necessary food. You survive. You become happy. So you please the devatas; they will please you, and they will help you to have the food chain. So we talk about the food chain. Ishtan bhogan hi wo devaha dasyante yajna bhavitaha taihi dattan apradayebhyo yo bhungte stena eva saha. If when you please devatas will give you all this. Devatas, whether you do anything for like so many nastikas are there, right? People who don't believe in God. Hey, they are also getting benefited. So why devatas are giving to them means devatas will always give to the whole creation, whole world. But the person who believes in that and gives them back, thinking that I am pleasing the devatas through these yajnas, if they don't do that, stena is like a thief. The people, God has given, there's no God, no devatas, everything, whatever I am getting, it's all for myself. I enjoy, I do it. I don't have to care about gods. I don't have to care about anything. If anybody thinks like that, it is like stealing, thief, because a thief gets something but doesn't give back. So we are stealing from the devata, stealing from the nature, but we are not giving back to the nature. And here, whatever we see in this food chain cycle process, the rains, the earth, the seeds, the plant, the trees, the fruits, the flowers, all that are visible to us. We know all of their presence, existence. We can see them. They are all existent. But what we don't see is all these are controlled by presiding devatas. We call Abhimani devatas. Hey, we don't see Abhimani devatas. And then we talk about the Abhimani devatas being controlled by their superiors, and all of them are controlled by Paramatma. We don't see Paramatma. We don't see Abhimani devatas. Why should we believe? How do we know that they exist? One way is, of course, there is no proof that anybody can really get 100% as a proof. There is a rational belief is there because these are all told in scriptures, but there is some kind of a reasoning we can do where suppose the rains don't fall at all. Just imagine that, it's all Prakriti, nature does it. But why should nature? Nature doesn't have a brain of its own. Nature cannot think by itself. Just imagine that there are no rains at all in this whole world. I mean, then no plants grow and the creation just gets wiped off. The way things are all happening as per the laws, LAWS, laws of nature, the things are happening. Why should they happen? The reason they're all happening perfectly is because there are presiding deities who are making them happen. And these presiding deities, even though we are not able to see them, they make sure that the natural forces, for earth or rain or whatever, all the whole thing, they are all happening as per the law of nature because they are making them happen. And again, they themselves are dependent upon Paramatma. But these presiding devatas or Abhimani devatas and Paramatma, all these are available to us only through scriptures or Agama Pramana. The Pratyaksha Pramana cannot reveal these devatas and Paramatma and all this. These are all visible only through Agama Pramana or scriptural evidence. So that's the only way, because the jnanis, we call the people with the divine vision, they could envision through their jnana drushti the existence of these Abhimani devatas and Paramatma through their dhyana process and all that. Only they could see actually, and they documented it and they gave it to us. So it's up to us whether we believe them or we don't believe them. So this is a belief, of course. There's a belief system always there, but the belief system is it a rational belief system or irrational belief system? The way we say believers of God or believers of this external thing, I mean the devatas and everything, we say that belief in this is rational and not believing them is irrational. An atheist or a non-believer will say, hey, believing in God is irrational and not believing in anything is rational. So how do we kind of solve this thing? Because there are two different views, opposite views. How do you solve this? Means the realization that I am helpless, I am dependent upon the natural forces of powers of nature, and that nature doesn't have to obey the law of nature, but the very fact that everything is going so perfectly in this world, something must be guiding, triggering, controlling, the controlling mechanism. Even though we cannot see, we do not perceive, it must be there. Otherwise, things cannot be so perfect. The nature, we say, nature, is it independent? Can it think by itself? Does it have a brain of its own? When we think about it, we realize that the inert, the lifeless nature doesn't have brain of its own. So it must be the jada nature must be controlled by a sentient nature. So that sentient nature is something that we cannot perceive, we cannot see with our physical eyes. Then that must be available through something else. That's why that unauthored Vedas are the guiding force for us. They are the ones which tell us the existence of such supernatural entities called devatas or Abhimani devata or Paramatma. Their existence we can know only through Vedas. So Vedas are the Swata Pramanya, self-valid. The self-valid Vedas are the ones which will guide us and tell us the existence of that. So Bhagavad Gita, Upanishad Sara, Bhagavad Gita, so Upanishatsu we say. And here Bhagavad Gita tells us how Sri Krishna Paramatma is telling whatever is the heart of the Vedas. So it says, Ishtan Bhogan hi O Deva Dasyante Yajna Bhavita. The Devatas, they are giving us so many Yajna Bhavitas. So they are aware of Paramatma's existence. They have direct contact with Paramatma and they know what is the intention of Paramatma. So through Yajna, so we please them through the Yajnas and they please us. So the Devatas who are pleased by the Yajna, different types of Yajnas, they give us the Bhoga Padarthas. And if we enjoy these Bhoga Padarthas without doing any public service, any giving back to the nature, if we don't do this, then we are like thieves, we are like robbers. So we must actually offer everything to Paramatma through the performing of the actions that please the natural entities, different types of entities in nature, including Shraddha karyas that we do for our ancestors, even that is also a part of the yajna. So different types of yajnas are there. And next sloka, the 13th sloka, which tells us yajna shishtashinaha santah muchyante sarvakilbishaihi bhunjate te tu agham papaha ye pachanti atmakarana. So Atma Karanat, for selfish reasons, whoever makes food with I enjoy food, I want food, not thinking about Devatas, not thinking of Paramatma, and Yajna Sishtashinaha Santha. That means you perform all kinds of yajnas, different types of yajnas, and whatever is left over from the yajnas, that is for me. Whoever does this with this kind of a spirit, then they will be liberated from the karma bandhana, they will be liberated from the sins and everything. Otherwise, who just lives just for himself, not caring for anybody else, anything else, then he is just consuming not just the food, he is actually eating the sins. It is like consuming the sins. So the sin eating process has to stop, means we have to give back in the form of yajnas to please the devatas, who in turn will, when they get pleased, Paramatma gets pleased. And Paramatma through the devatas and the devatas through the natural forces grant our desires, and we can conduct, and then we have to take part in the cyclic process of the karma, which we'll talk about in the next class. What is the karma chakra, we call the cycle of karma chakra. That we'll talk about in the next class. Hare Srinivasa. Any questions are there, you can feel free to ask. Hare Srinivasa.
Namaskar, Guruji. Can you hear me?
Sure, yeah.
This is Murli. I'm a new student attending your class. As I mentioned in my text message to you, that I'm so blessed because one of my close soul is Vivekji, in Atlanta, and he mentioned about your Zoom class, send me the link, and because of that, this is my second one. I had to be very honest with you that I've been listening and listening. I'm catching up for the last 6 or 7 months. I'm catching up, but I do have a question for you. What this may not be related to the shloka 9 and 10, but in general, if somebody is not nice to you, but I have a habit of let go, I don't let things bother, is that a weakness or is that something cowardness?
Yeah, it's a good question. So yes, if somebody is not nice to you, you let go. It is not a weakness, because what happens is, if you don't let go, actually it keeps haunting you. So it actually is other way around. Actually, it weakens you. Suppose we keep bothering about, somebody does, say something hurting remarks, so we work on that. It really has a very damaging effect on our minds. So the attitude that you have taken is a very good attitude, but it should not be. Suppose there is something that somebody is doing something bad, and because of that, it's not only it hurting you, but it is hurting the society. So if you have the adhikara or the eligibility to stop it, suppose by doing something that can be stopped and it can help the society, then you should do that. That means it should not be guided by inaction. It should be proactive, but at the same time, it should be guided by your role in that. That means whether you are eligible to correct that person. Because if suppose, imagine, if one of your young people, or suppose your own children, they do something wrong, okay, I let it go. You don't correct your children. And you say, okay, the children are hurting me, but I'll let it go. Means no, because what happens is, it will build the character of your children. So you have the authority, right, to correct your children. So you don't just let it go, but you correct them. No, this is not the right way to do. You have to do this way. So you have to convince them and correct them. Same way, it's not just the children only. In outside also, your subordinates are there. You have the responsibility to correct them. So wherever you have the responsibility to correct, then you just don't let it go, but you take the proactive step of correcting them. But where you don't have the scope, you can't do anything, you don't have the authority, then instead of just torturing your mind and letting it burn you, you just say let it go, because that what happens is you can concentrate on other things where you can really be efficient, and you are not letting it burn you. So that attitude is good, but you have to be very careful when to use that attitude and when to proactively corrective action is to be taken. So that you have to judge from action to action, people to people with whom you are interacting.
Yeah, I think really you said like not to be naive and not to get exploited, you know. Some people think, I think that's exactly like it's like how Krishna Paramatma was advising Arjun that
Yes.
you got to stand up for dharma,
Yes.
You don't accept it, you got to fight for it, no,
Yeah.
to keep the dharma, right? Yeah,
Yes.
thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, and that's why niyatam kuru karma. So that's the key. Karma you have to do. Niyata karma, that means whatever is the right thing to do, judge yourself. Is what I am doing is right or not? So it is, like you not get worked up by others' comments. Means if suppose you have not, you can't do anything about it, then you might as well let it go, because let it not bother you, because you have nothing to do with it. Then that's fine. But you have something to do with, then proactive.
Right, and then do it very in a diplomatically, so that
Yes. Yes.
see whether they can. If you cannot change,
Yeah.
you cannot bang your head on the wall, right?
Yes.
Basically, you just have to let go, right? Yeah, thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, very well said.
Good. Yeah. Thank you.
Sastang Namaskar, Shikeshwara.
Yeah.
I have a question
Sure.
about this shloka, 10th shloka, Sahayagya Praja Sristva Purovacha Prajapati.
Yeah.
So this one, is this, you mentioned about 5 yajna.
Yeah.
Is it also related to what is said in Purusha Sukta? Tam yagyam bharishi prokshan purusham jatam grasa ten deva ajanta sadhya rishayasche.
Yeah. There, yes, it's a Panchayagna, but there specifically it is talking about this Dravya Yajna and Manasika Yajna. So actually in Purusha Sukta, it gives you two kinds of things. So they perform the Manasika Yajna also, and they perform the physical Yajna also, where they use Chaturmukha Brahma creates a body of himself, and using that Devas perform the Yajna. So like that, because the Devatas, based on their capacity, where they stand, at their capacity, what they can do, they will do it. So because devatas have such extraordinary capability, there they actually perform the yajna. Even before the yajna padarthas are created, they do manasika yajna. After yajna padarthas are created, they do actual physical yajna. So they do both.
So here when it says Sahayagya Praja Sristva Purovacha Prajapati. So this is the Srishti creation.
Yeah.
It's talking about the creation. Is that?
Yes, this is actually even after and after the creation of devatas, as well as after the creation of others also through devata. Then Brahma Manasa Putrasa will come. Then Manus will come. Through the Manus, they create the Srishti star. Progresses further. So it is not at one point of time only. It's again and again. So Brahma, at the very beginning, whoever yajnadhikara people are there, they are yajnadhikara souls. After creating them, then it says through you perform the yajnas, and then through the yajnas you accomplish your desires. That's why now Indra also he performs Shatakritavika. He performs 100 yajnas. Why? Means to please his superiors. So every devata also they perform the yajnas to please their superiors. So this is universally applicable principle.
Okay, dhanyawad. And the Panch Mahayagya,
Yeah.
that the Panch Ahuti that is described in Chandogya Upanishad, is that the Panch Mahayagya?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. धन्यवाद. शास्त्रांग नमस्कार.
Yeah.
धन्यवाद.
Yeah. Okay, we'll do the closing prayer. प्रातः प्रभुति सायांतं सायादि प्रातरं तथा यत्करोमि जगन्नाथ तदस्तु तव पूजनं प्रातः कालादिकं कर्म नित्य नैमित्तिकं तथा केशवाराधनार्थाय करिष्येऽहं तवाज्ञया हरे श्रीनिवास श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु.
हरे श्रीनिवास. शास्त्रांग नमस्कार. ईश्वर.
हरे श्रीनिवास. धन्यवाद गुरुजी.
Guruji,
Namaskar.
one question.
नमस्कार.
Guruji, may I ask,
हरे
may I ask one question, Guruji?
Yeah.
No, Namaskar, Guruji. I had a fundamental question.
Sure.
Given our majority of the time revolves around like mundane day-to-day activities,
Yeah.
and it may not be practical to perform yajna in our capacity regularly. So, should we literally take what you have described in today's class as yajna, or any other good karma can also be done in its place?
Yeah.
As
Is
an
a good
alternate
question. Is a good question. Actually, it comes after this in this chapter itself later on. Not only those yajnas, even like we talk about the yajnas, like our indriyas and the indriya padarthas are there. So even there we can kind of imagine a kind of a yajna. So it is not only that famous yajna that we do. There are so many other types of yajna. So there are many kinds of yajna. So it talks about various types of yajna in our day-to-day life also. Even the activities that we do, how we can, for example, even eating the food, just as simple as that. Eating the food, Vaishvanara Agni is there inside our stomach, so we can just eat the food just like that, or think about Paramatma inside our stomach, and because Vaishvanara Agni, Vaishvanara Rupena Paramatma is there inside us, and the food that we eat is we are giving as ahuti to Paramatma. With this understanding, that's also an yajna. So even eating food as much as can be conceived as a kind of a yajna, but only when we think about it like that. Otherwise, it's just eating the food. Like any animal eats, we are also eating the food. But think it as a yajna. So it is not only the famous yajnas that we do, there are so many other types of yajna that we can do, that the mental process is what makes them in the form of yajna. If that mental process is not there, it is not an yajna. So yeah, there are various types of yajna. That's why I say Panchamaha yajna. Even feeding the atithis, the guests that will come, we feed them. That is also a kind of yajna. Atithi bhojana is an yajna. So like that, there are so many types of yajna. So it's not just a famous yajna, but there are so many other types of yajna there. We can perform those yajnas also.
Understood, Guruji. Dhanyawad, Guruji.
Sure. Okay. So we'll meet again next Monday. Hare Shivasa.
हरे श्रीनिवास.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी.
Dhanyawad, Guruji.
हरे श्रीनिवास. नमस्कार गुरुಗಳೇ.
Namaskar.
Namaskar, Hari.
Namaskar.
Namaskaram, Guruji.